The OECD is out with its survey of the world's biggest economy, the U.S. The report lays out the challenges ahead and what the Obama administration might want to consider to reach its goal of reducing the federal deficit to 3% of GDP by 2015. Here with more on the recommendations is the OECD Secretary General, Angel Gurria. Thank you for coming in today, Mr. Secretary. Earlier this morning, we got official word from the National Bureau of Economic Research that the recession in the United States ended, in their view, back in June of 2009. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think we're dealing with the consequences now. The legacy of the crisis was very harsh. We're having low growth, we're having high unemployment, we're having high deficits, and those are likely to stay with us for a long time. That's what we have to deal with.
So you've been on record saying you don't expect a double dip here. Does that rule out another recession, albeit one of different circumstances?
Yes, it rules it out. I do not expect that it will go back into a recession. But what we're going through now is a sort of soft patch. We had healthier, stronger growth at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And now we're going through a slowing down of that recovery process. But no, we're not envisaging that we could go back into negative numbers in the foreseeable future.
Now, in the report that you just issued, I want to highlight something. You suggest that as the housing market is recovering and home prices start to rise, public support to home ownership should be decreased to curb incentives. Right now, we're seeing seizures of homes on the rise. In fact, just today, GMAC Mortgage was told to halt foreclosures. It's going to stop doing those because people are just unable to keep up with their payments.
Yes.
When do you see that process of pulling out support for the market? When could that be possible?
I think you have to see a strengthening in the housing market. You have to see a strengthening in the economic recovery in general.
Does that mean home prices rising? Because confidence certainly isn't there.
Well, certainly rising prices may be a manifestation of that recovery. But we do not see inflation as a very serious problem or a serious pressure in the immediate future. The question is, we are making a medium and long-term analysis of how the United States can go back to normality with its fiscal situation. The situation today is not sustainable, and the accumulation of debt is, again, simply not sustainable. So how do you go back to a sense of normality? How do you get back to that 3% in 2015 that was mentioned by the administration? That will allow the situation to stabilize, meaning the rot is stopped. But it will stop with 30 points more of debt to GDP than at the beginning of the crisis. And how do you go down from there? You have to make room for an aging population, for an aging process going forward.
So when you look at the bond market, though, in the United States, it seems like government debt is still being treated as a safe haven. Do you not view it as such, given your concerns?
The United States and the dollar and the bond market here is always a safe haven. It's more than a bond, more than a currency, more than an economy. It's an umbrella, you know. And but other than that, you have to deal with the fundamentals. That gives you more time. The market is more tolerant with the United States than with any other economy in the world.
Right. I mean, with Ireland and with Portugal, they're being forced to deal with things because of these concerns about being able to buy debt. It gives you more time, but it's a blessing in disguise. Not so much of a blessing because it gives you a false impression of complacency. You should deal with the issues just like everybody else. You're doing that. I think it's going in the right direction. The only question is, don't get complacent and certainly focus on the fundamentals. Don't take that extra time that the market is going to give you. We also need the United States not just for the sake of the Americans. We need the United States to be in good health for the sake of the world economy at large. All right. A lot more to talk about with you, but we've got to leave it there for today. Thank you for coming on and for sharing your outlook. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.